Welcome back to the Scary Value Podcast. Welcome back to episode 100, part 4. No, we're done with it.
Oh, we finished the Clips show?
Yeah, this is coming out after all of the extensive episodes about episode 100, the saga of episode 100. I'm so excited to finally just be talking about some fucking movies because we've done
We're doing porn now?
Some fucking movies.
Ooh, I'm excited. I really look forward into the people doing things series of films.
Yeah, porn.
Yeah. But like somebody
Women aren't
does
things.
something.
Dallas.
Yeah, but I don't want Dallas. Did they ever go on like location?
I lost track of it after the first one. I know there were sequels.
They really got away from the core story there.
Yeah, but Dallas was done.
Right.
That's my understanding of the first movie's plot.
I never did make it to the end, so I don't know.
I never made it past 30 seconds in. 70s mustache. Ooh, enough for me.
Mustache rides. That's what was offered back then. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing the T-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we finally can do regular episodes again. We're freed from our end of year.
That was a really long time. I loved it. I didn't have to watch shit.
We snuck one in, I think, the week after Thanksgiving. We did Speak No Evil.
Ooh, I like that movie.
So from the Thanksgiving episode, Giving Thanks, to Sam Neill.
I like Sam Neill.
To the after Thanksgiving Mashed Potato Mashup. I believe we snuck in Speak No Evil. And since then, we have just not done a regular episode, and we're now in mid-February. It's too much, and we have to maybe figure something out. I don't know.
Everybody loves awards. It's the award season. 3 months.
I hope they do, Pete, because I got some news about 2 weeks from now.
Ooh.
When I agreed to that, I really didn't realize the quagmire we were in of how many special, quote unquote, special episodes. They're not special if you do them every week.
That's not what I understand it to be. I understand it.
Further proof of my point. So finally, we can just talk. We watched, actually, it's 2 movies. We're even kind of breaking the format there. But I mostly want to talk about the first one. I just think the second one is important for context. And there's really only one aspect of the second one I'm that interested in, but it's because of what it does to the first one that I think fixes its biggest plot problem. So we're talking about Candyman.
And Candyman 2,
Candyman, yes. And I wish I had a better one than that, but I don't.
Because it is Candyman. It is. It turns out to be Candyman. I was right all along. I said it in jest, Brian, but it turns out there are Candyman.
It is, and that's part of what I really enjoy about the thought they put into the sequel. Because I called it a remake. It doesn't take long in the movie to realize it's not a remake. It's a legacy sequel.
The first one was 92?
That's correct.
And then when did the new one come out?
2021.
Okay.
And it is technically set in universe in between parts 2 and 3.
Wait.
Because this movie was set in, 2019?
Parts 2 and 3?
There are 2 more sequels to Candyman. They're trash.
Oh, I see.
They're not interesting to me. They miss the point of Candyman. The only thing that's good about them is Tony Todd is in them. That's the only thing that's good about them.
He was really cool.
Yes. And that's why it became a franchise for a bit, but they didn't hit because the movies weren't that good. And it's funny to me it became like the slasher icon franchise because the first one's an investigative horror movie. It's not a slasher movie.
Absolutely. 100% said. And it was a Clive Barker. I didn't realize it was.
It was. And the Legacy sequel is more of an investigative horror movie. It's just he's investigating the original movie, which is it sounds up its own ass, but in every way it is not, which is fascinating.
Agreed.
And we'll get to that when we get to the sequel, because there's only a couple things about this. I love the sequel, actually. But it's more that I love the first one. And I like what the sequel has to say about the first one, because there's always been one thing that bothered me about 1992's Candyman. But we'll get to that when we get to it. This was your first time watching the new one, I know.
Yes, and I had seen the Candyman, singular, back probably around 93, whenever it would come out on VHS. And I didn't care for it at the time. It was just something that passed over. Watching it again,
it's great.
I think it's because I was looking for a slasher movie. That's what I expected, and it's not. It is a hard investigative horror.
It's one of the best ones, I think.
It's interesting. It's interesting the idea of urban legends, but and belief. I mean, that's been around now with a lot of authors and stuff. But belief is the power of the gods and the urban legends. But the fact that I don't know, the urban legend kept being reinforced by the people in it was the projects, right? It was like Cabrini Green.
Yes.
I think that's a real place
It
too.
is.
Okay. I only say that because I was watching the credits and they said special thanks to the residents of Cabrini Green.
It
So I
is.
was like,
And in real life, they had torn the high rise down by the time they made the 2021 movie. So that's why it's part of the story.
okay. Yeah, I just thought it was a really cool setting. I thought it was a really fun idea, but definitely not a slasher. Up until the very end ish when
It is. Let's start with the beginning.
yeah.
First of all, I've been to 3 colleges. I've been to more colleges. I attended 3 colleges. I've never seen a class on urban legends, but these Hollywood is lousy with urban legends classes. I would have taken urban legends.
You know what? I would have sworn up until you just said that there was an urban legends class, but now I think I just believe that it's something that colleges offer because I sure as shit didn't ever see it in any college either.
Your belief in that in and of itself, an urban legend.
Well, then it should be real. I say that all the time in the mirror. I say it 5 times. I'm like, urban legend class, urban legend class, and then I get tired because that's a lot to say, so I never made it to 5. So I don't know if it works.
I have a quick Mrs. Kittner game for you.
Guess the age of an actor in this film. All right. Who?
How old is Xander Berkeley, who plays Trevor, the teacher of the urban legends class and husband of Virginia
That guy
Madsen's
was
character?
a dick.
We're going to get to that because I want to defend him a bit.
Really?
Yes.
There are shades of...
We'll
Okay.
get to the...
How old did I think that dude was? I think he was... Oh, shit. I don't know. Now you got me thinking. He's probably younger than he appeared. I'm going to guess he was 30.
He was 37, which still to me was...
I'm trying to think. I guess I could see it.
I couldn't. Did you catch Ted Raimi in the opening scene?
I did. Oh, my... Ted Raimi as the bad boy? That was fantastic.
Our second favorite Raimi. So it's 1992. We're still doing out of nowhere greaser characters.
Was Happy Days still referenced regularly at that point?
I love the choice because it's being told as a story. It's not actually happening. It's someone telling the story of an urban legend they heard.
Son of a bitch, I didn't catch that.
I love
That's
the
fun.
choice for him to be the
That
slick back hair, leather jacketed.
That's really cool. That makes so much more sense now.
Like I said, it's a really good movie.
I just sat there laughing because, yay, Ted Raimi.
I did too. I thought it was funny. So yeah, it is based on Clive Barker's short story called The Forbidden, which I've never read.
I have only read a few things by Clive Barker, and his stuff is weird. It tends to go into like the fantastic realms of emotion and thought and belief.
Oof, pass.
That's where a lot of it, and also blood and terror and things of that ilk. But I haven't read this one.
No, I haven't read it either. I don't even know how long it is. Seems like it'd have to be fairly long.
I believe
Maybe it's just the urban legend you're
the
right.
credits told me that it's a short story, but I've forgotten the name of it.
I just told you it was a short story.
No, you said you imagine it would be.
No, I said it's based on a short story called The Forbidden. Check the tape.
All right, pause. Let's do that.
I don't know how to do any of those things.
And we're back. I was right.
No. You can just hit back skip for 45 seconds and find out he's
To
not.
find out I'm right, but go on.
Stars Virginia Madsen as Helen.
What else is she in? Because I feel like I like her. I don't know where. I've seen her everywhere, but I don't know where.
I don't know what else she's known for. I know she was in the same womb as Michael Madsen, but probably not at the same time because I don't think they're twins.
I didn't put that together.
Yeah.
You know who she reminds me of? Madsen Amchick. Amchick?
Madchen
Oh, yeah.
from Twin Peaks.
Yes, because their names are close.
I had the biggest crush on her when
Everyone
Sleepwalkers came out.
Everyone did.
Yeah. We're going to obviously do our David Lynch month, but one of the things about Twin Peaks, boy, that guy could find beautiful women.
Having not seen anything other than a little bit of that first season of Twin Peaks, I don't know.
He loaded that thing up with beautiful women for someone watching it in the mid-90s who was probably 15 years old.
Good stuff.
Yeah. We're going to watch those in separate rooms. Xander Berkeley plays Trevor, the 37-year-old, I guess, professor husband, which
I've seen him and stuff too.
Virginia Madsen's a graduate student working on her thesis on urban legends. This feels like you can't write a thesis on urban legends, but okay.
You know what? I was in anthropology classes for a while when I found out I couldn't be an archaeologist. And I feel like that is something you would do. And it's a really interesting topic to do it on.
I guess.
The fact that it's happening, if there was a place where these murders are taking place and people believe in this, I'd be over there. Well, no, I wouldn't be. But were I Virginia Madsen and a graduate student married to this dick of a guy who is clearly cheating on her with his other students?
Well, we'll get to her culpability in that later.
Culpability? She didn't do it. All right.
We have her best friend, Bernadette.
Oh, I forgot about her.
Who, I saw her face and I was like, where do I know her from? Because she's got a very memorable early 90s face that I've seen her in something else. And it hit me partway through the movie because she's assisting her friend on this investigation. She's also the friend of Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs who is assisting her in that investigation in a scene that just pops up out of nowhere because you don't really know this character from anything else in the movie. But I've always remembered her face because like she's a beautiful girl that I was like, why have I never seen her in anything before? And then I did see her in something else. It was Candyman a year later.
All right. Good for you.
Yeah, I solved my own investigation watching this movie.
That's better than I usually do.
And we have Vanessa E. Williams, not the Vanessa Williams people would know, as Anne Marie, a tenant with a baby and briefly a dog.
Well, just think of it as she had 2 dogs after that.
Yeah, she did. Usually animal cruelty bothers me, but it did not in this movie because we don't actually see it happen and because Rottweilers are terrifying.
I like Rottweilers. They are terrifying, though.
This one's head was abnormally large.
That's how they all are.
This one was bigger. This is like Cujo on steroids.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. I watched this one a couple of weeks ago, the first one, and then I just watched the second Candyman last night. So,
well, it's the fourth Candyman.
Well, the second one for me. I feel that since it's a legacy, it follows directly in.
And like I said, it takes place theoretically between 2 and 3 because 2 takes place somewhat soon after 1 and 3 takes place 25 years later. And this is set 24 years after the original. So I think they purposely stuck it where the story could go on beyond this without having to actually do any more.
Okay.
So my, and that's not a problem. It's my question I've always had with this movie. And it's something that I like it gets retconned a bit in the sequel. Why is Candyman terrorizing black people?
Now, I see that was one of the questions I had.
It's just always been this disconnect for me about the power of his origin and then the targets of his vengeance.
Now, it wasn't him though, right? Like it was people using that name, like it was a drug dealer or whatever in this movie, the first one.
But that's what I like what the sequel does. It changes that.
But follow me with this movie. So it's people co-opting the name, like bad guys, and they're the ones terrorizing their own community.
Right.
But that's still belief. It's what power. So he has to act. The Candyman has to act within the nature of his belief.
I guess, but also something nobody ever talks about in this movie is that he's a liar, and when you get to the end of the movie, he lies to Helen. He says that he'll let the baby live if she stays with him.
Yes. Like, all right, go over the story. Like, just
this is the problem with the first Candyman. As much as I love it, there is an issue with wanting to make it into a movie that pleases the audience, so he has to just become a rote bad guy when he's something far more interesting than that for most of the movie. I've always not enjoyed the very ending of the movie. As a movie, I like it. Like, Helen investigates this urban legend. She finds that it's being spread around Cabrini Green and all of the black characters in the movie, because she learns it. She knows about the character. She hears about it, but she learns the first details from 2 black women who are cleaning up the school she's at. Because it's become like an urban legend in their community.
Yeah, within their own.
He's the boogeyman.
Right.
And she investigates this, gets hands-on with it, finds that it's being kind of used by a gang leader who beats the shit out of her to keep people scared. But that's also what keeps his name in there.
Right. The belief in the Candyman.
Yes. And he needs that. It becomes a central point of the thing. But then when he meets Helen, who brings him forth, and although she doesn't get to see him for a while.
There was a weird shrine set up to him, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
all. I mean, like there was all, like the belief was all over the place inside the.
Well, it's a cool
Cabrini
character.
Green.
When he meets Helen, you don't learn this till the very end of the movie, but his infatuation with her is because his backstory is that he was an artist who would paint for wealthy white people and fell in love and impregnated one of their daughters. And he got lynched, got his hand cut off, was covered in honey and killed by bees, and then burned alive. And Helen looks exactly like the woman that he fell in love with. It's a Dracula.
Okay.
We're pulling a Dracula.
Oh, that's what Dracula's deal was with?
In some of them.
All right.
That Mina looked like the woman that he loved back in the day. So his motives are never exactly as pure as they seem to be, as evidenced by what happens at the end of the movie, where he just totally fucking lies to her.
And why did he want to burn the baby? I don't remember that being a part of. Did he? Because he died in the fire, so his belief is that they have a bonfire every year out there.
Yes.
But they don't sacrifice somebody.
No. This is why the movie gets too sloppy. But the sequel fixes a lot of my problems with that movie.
No. So it ends then, because
it ends with Helen dying.
She goes into the fire.
She saves the baby. She kills Candyman.
She fights the Candyman inside the bonfire.
And she saves the baby, gives it back to her mother. Oh, at some point, she was believed to have stolen this baby.
Oh, yeah.
Candyman had stolen the baby.
And she was put in a mental hospital
Yes.
because she could have been the killer for a while. Well, you're looking at this.
We'll get to that. That's part of my Trevor defense.
Okay.
She gives the baby back to the mother, dies, and then becomes one of these Candyman entities herself, which is a thing that I've never liked thematically, except that I understand why they did it, because it's got the cool end of the movie with Xander Berkeley looking in the mirror, saying her name 5 times, not in a way to try to draw her forth, in a way it's like...
sadness.
Well, yes, he's regretful about some things, mostly I think because his new version of Helen doesn't cook so good, and she's kind of annoying. But Helen then appears and kills him, which I think is a completely ridiculous idea when you take what the heaviness of the Candyman story was. What did Trevor do so wrong? He didn't kill Helen.
No, that was the Candyman.
So her vengeance is to come back and kill her dickhead ex-husband?
Well, yeah, because she stole the belief from the Candyman.
Which is the best thing the sequel does.
Agreed. Oh, I really liked that aspect of the sequel.
And it was confusing at first for me when I'm watching it. I'm like, this isn't what happened in Candyman. And they're telling the story that they've told is they've shut Candyman down.
Right, it's been altered. Right.
Gone. It's Helen.
It's a new urban legend that has sprung up within Cabrini, and the belief is stolen, so now she's a power, and if she wants to kill her ex-husband, that is within her right.
They made the conscious choice to eradicate Candyman from their lives, which, again, why was he terrorizing the black community? I never will understand. But why would they have to get rid of him if they now know the whole story? But they've taken away his power. He's gone. Until the grown-up baby...
which you don't find out about.
No, he's investigating this urban legend about Helen, and he comes to discover the real truth.
Well, he finds out about there's an even deeper legend about the Candyman.
And Vanessa E. Williams returns to give a great scene.
I was excited when she popped back up. I was like, "Ooh, I know her!" And then I realized it was her son, and then I kind of went off the rails a little bit for me here.
Now that's when I realized it too, when I first watched it. But watching it again, it was like, oh, they never were hiding it. It's just that you had to really be locked down on the fact that Anthony McCoy was the name of that baby. Like, they don't really hide who he is.
Oh, but we won't know the name of the baby.
Why would I remember the name of the baby?
Right.
But I watched them back to back, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, they weren't really hiding it. But it worked for me completely.
Worked 100% for me, too.
When she basically tells him, you were that baby, I was like, oh, this is fucking incredible.
But I'll see.
Well, the point is, he's now bringing Candyman back.
Right.
Unintentionally. It's like a Freddy Krueger kind of thing where the town forgot about him, but now we're remembering him again, and he's getting his power back. And I love that. But it's not the same Candyman.
No. Yeah, right. It's not.
It's not Daniel Robitaille with his backstory. It's a different person. And this is what I liked about the Hive, or the Candymen, as you call them. What I liked about it was that Helen thing always bothered me as the payoff to this Daniel Robitaille thing. Because that's all there was. There was no second Candyman version.
Right. It's just this one.
The sequel opens it up to, the Helen thing still only makes a certain amount of sense. I'll give it a pass because he was infatuated with her, and the rules are different for her because that was the woman he thought he loved, all that stuff. But it became an avatar in the afterlife for the vengeful spirit of innocent black men who were murdered.
In Cabrini Green.
No,
No?
no, because Nia DaCosta, who directed the movie, uses some real life people in her storytelling. People who were killed all throughout time, innocent people who were killed by lynch mobs or put to death, not in Cabrini Green. But that's the origin of the Daniel Robitaille story, that he was murdered on what became Cabrini Green.
Okay, but all of the other ones, didn't they said that the one guy, whoever the kid was, William, who was the informant for McCoy,
who was setting him up the whole movie to become a Candyman.
Yeah, you see, like I
did enjoy that.
All right, we'll get to that because I still I got lost somewhere in all of these things that were happening. So you're gonna have to explain it to me slowly so I understand, because I like the concepts. He had said that, like, his Candyman, the reason the Candyman was different was because this was the Candyman from his youth in Cabrini Green was just a guy who handed out candy to kids.
Okay, but that's two. Mm-hmm. But the other half a dozen characters referenced either in the puppet show or those are not in Cabrini Green.
But he said that they were stuck in like a loop. Like every generation has a Candyman.
Sure.
Everyone, but it's
they don't all be in Cabrini Green.
I think it was all in Cabrini Green. I think that one was
because again, she used real life people who weren't murdered in Chicago.
I understand that, but she just placed them in
Cabrini.
Okay, well, maybe I'll watch that again just to prove you wrong.
Okay,
let's go to the tape. Pause this. And we're back. Guess who was right again? 2-0 for me, 0-2 for you. So, now that I'm right, what else you got?
What did you want to ask me about?
I forgot. It was... I just didn't understand. Oh, all right. So his informant turns out to be a Candyman believer who wants to bring him back?
Well, he was a kid who accidentally... And I don't think he did anything wrong here. He sees... There's an urban legend going around Cabrini Green about somebody who was the Candyman. And at the same time, someone had put the classic razor blade in a candy. And he sees this Candyman-looking person with a hook. And they've got candy. And he screams. Which, again, I don't think he did anything wrong. That'd be terrifying.
No, right.
The police come in, beat him to death. And they find out it was not him.
Right. He was just a guy who went into hiding. Right. He went into hiding because they were looking for him to basically kill him because they wanted him for the murder or the candy. My
assumption after that, given that he spends the whole movie, William, explaining the legends of these Candymen, that he spent his whole life obsessed with it. That he's, I would guess, trying to find it again. You know what I mean? Because he knows all about all the Candyman.
Yeah.
He's done a lifelong research into it. And he's leading Anthony down this road of investigation to put him further and further into danger. And then in the end, he cuts off his hand, sets him up to get murdered.
But see, that's where I guess I didn't like the second one as much.
No, it's not as good a movie.
Yeah. It was, Anthony gets stung by a bee early on and clearly starts just, I don't know, turning into a zombie, and he's just going about his business and everyone's just letting him until like half his body is just this weird burned mess.
He starts seeing his reflection is the Candyman that William has told him about.
Right.
And deaths start occurring all around him. And he's also painting all of the other Candymans.
And it's everyone he's in contact with.
And he doesn't know what any of this is or what's happening. And he's been living a lie his whole life because he doesn't even know that he has a history with this Candyman saga.
Right. But then it turns into he was marked, by the Candyman. That's why his face and arm was burning from the bee sting.
That seems to be correct, yes.
Yeah.
That it ties in the end of the original movie.
Yeah, it was weird. It kind of went off. I liked when it was just he as an artist, Anthony, has the exhibit, which is the Candyman exhibit. It's a mirror, and it dares you to say his name 5 times. So the people who do start getting murdered.
My only issue with that whole arc of Anthony and the Candyman turning into the Candyman, because you really do have to take it at the value of, oh, well, he was doomed for this at the time he was a baby. Because his backstory of struggling artist does not match the other backstories of the other Candymans. It does not at all fit in with the, what happens to him because William sets him up is terrible, sure. And he does get shot down by the police and then get to come back as the Candyman. Great. No, I have no problem with any of that. The problem is that, it doesn't feel like his character has earned it.
What do you mean?
What's his struggle through life? What was his...
The Candyman... Oh, okay. You're not saying earned it as in a reward. You're just saying he hasn't
These other
reached the
stories,
criteria to be a Candyman.
these other stories are all about horrific things done to innocent people.
Yeah.
Anthony's not that innocent.
He was just a baby and he got stolen.
No, I mean, first of all, he's not living a struggling life. Secondly, by the time they get there, people have died because he's invoked the Candyman.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what's funny? Jumping a bit, this was as much as I wanted a slasher in the first movie, like this one was much more slashery.
Well, it has that one scene. It does try to have fun with it, where it gives you the 5 high school girls.
Yeah, where they bring it later in the bathroom.
It feels so out of place, but I loved it.
And well, just the initial murder with the art critic and the assistant,
Yeah.
where instead of, you see them being lifted into the air invisibly and their throats just being slit, like it was much more of what I expected, I think, when I first watched Candyman. And I don't care for Candyman as much as I did for Candyman.
Well, you don't get Tony Todd until the very last moment.
It was cool when he showed up, though.
It's a perfect usage because you're telling an original story, you're expanding the universe into something where you can use it going forward. Mm-hmm. And he does get the last word, and it's the one character in the story that you'd have an emotional attachment to, because you're probably watching the whole movie going, but that's not the Candyman. And that's the plot of the movie, is that there's more than one.
Right.
This has not just happened to one person in history. This is an epidemic. And when you see the Tony Todd face and he gets that last word with his fucking incredible voice, tell everyone, and the movie ends, it's like, that's the perfect ending to that movie.
Yes.
Because he's back, and his story is out there. And by he, I mean the Hive now, but the Candyman is back. Everyone's going to know about it. You're not going to be able to cover up what just happened in this thing. And the whole movie began with the Candyman's gone, and it ends with, in the literal transformation of Tony Todd sitting there, the Candyman's back. And I thought it's the coolest fucking ending.
And then if you watch all of the puppet
Yes.
show at the end, you find there are the Candymen, so I was there trying to do my credit check this morning on Candyman, and Sam was there. 9-year-old Sam was, I'm doing this right before he's got to catch the bus. So I'm just trying to watch it, and he's looking at the credits, and he's like, what are they doing to this guy? Oh, they're tying him to a car. Oh, all his skin is gone. I can't do that credit check because I think I mentally scarred him just from watching it. He's afterwards like, that was really creepy, Dad. And the music was really creepy, and the puppets made it bad. I didn't like the puppets.
It's funny too, because I think that for whatever issues the sequel does have trying to wrangle up some myth that I think is kind of broken by the first one in the first place, and then putting it into a new
Context.
I think it does succeed at getting it a new context by the end.
I agreed.
It's a beautiful movie. Beautiful movie. Because the first one's kind of an ugly movie because it's a 1992 independent movie. We talked about how these movies have a certain feel to them. Even the horror movie, it has that certain look to it where it's like, I've seen so many movies in my life because of my age that look exactly like this movie. That no matter how, and I think there's real artistry going on in some of that movie, but it's still going to feel like a 1992 independent movie. Then you get to 2021 and people can make things so beautiful. And the movie is, I think, very artistic in a way, which, one of the themes of these two movies was art. Dana Robitaille was an artist. Anthony McCoy's an artist. I've never put together what the point of any of that is.
I don't think it needs to be had, right? Like it's just stuff that's happening.
Is it just shorthand? Especially the first time around. Because he was a son of a slave working in a racist South. Although I guess he got to Chicago at some point.
Because he traveled for his art.
Is the art part, especially in the first one, just shorthand for, but he's a good guy. He's a innocent guy, and he's a peaceful guy. Because when you think of artist, you're not thinking of violence. Because you look at Tony Todd, he's a giant, scary man.
Well,
but telling him his backstory, it was like, well, he's just a painter. So painters aren't crazy. Well, painters are all crazy. But painters aren't murderers, and painters aren't evil. Is it just shorthand to try to be like, we're going to tell you what you need to know about this character. He was a painter. It's done.
No, I think it was just to get him places. To have him move around and end up in Chicago.
You can do that in any way.
Yeah, what would his job have been? How would he have fallen in love with I guess so, you're right. He could have fallen in love with someone anywhere. No. And we don't know what the artist actually looked like either, right? Because that Tony Todd's Candyman, that's just what that urban legend may have sprang into looking like.
I guess. I think it probably looked like Tony Todd. The point is the legend is true. Not that there's just a legend that they made out of thin air. The point is that it was true.
But it wasn't true until they believed.
No, it was always true. It's just they didn't have power until they believed. Until they knew. It's all about telling the story. Like the tagline for the 2021 movie is "Say His Name." It's bring him back into the consciousness. Let people know his story, because then his story never dies. It's taking something that we see in real life, when someone is murdered in a horrible way, and then you get all the thoughts and prayers and apologies, and you'll see people online saying, "Well, say their name." You're avoiding the topic here on the gun violence. Like this person was killed, say their names, and like make them real. That's something that Candyman was doing in '92. I'm sure it was going on in real life before that. It's just that the internet wasn't there to tell me that it was going on. So that's the point, is to spread the truth of the story. And if it wasn't true, then you're missing the entire point of Candyman.
Bees came out of his mouth.
Real bees.
But they went brr. Yeah, I know. They were real. That's another thing I didn't like about Candyman, was the all CGI bees everywhere.
Yeah, that was a problem.
It was although it was kind of cool having them on the other side of the mirror, like the bees were trapped there.
Well, Candyman, Tony Todd's Candyman, go back to the original, doesn't show up in the movie for almost 45 minutes. It is not boring before that. It's interesting because you're learning all about him. It's one of the best horror character introductions I've ever seen, because you got 45 minutes of learning all these little tidbits about him, what everybody thinks about him, whatever he's afraid of. And then the scene in the parking garage happens. Oh, yeah. And holy shit, he just walks onto the screen like the coolest.
That was pretty cool. That was a really good introduction. You're right. For a character, just boom. Oh, look, it's real.
Yes. It's incredible. And, does the character work as well without Tony Todd's voice and gravitas? Probably not, because I watched a whole second Candyman movie where he wasn't in it and it didn't work as well.
And it leaned heavier into the slasher. This one was just a story, and
yes.
The first one was...
The biggest difference between the two is that in the new one, it is a wronged man exacting vengeance on people. Sure. It's that in the first one too, but there's like a mythical, ethereal quality to it because of the way Tony Todd's voice is, almost just because of his voice. It's more mythic.
Does this Candyman talk in Candyman? I don't remember if he says much.
I don't remember either.
I don't think he talks. He just kind of hands out candy. And that's his deal. And he guts people mercilessly.
Well, the Tony Todd voice makes that whole first movie into something less grounded. The second one becomes like a more grounded movie where this urban legend is true. The first one feels like a mythical creature.
That's the Clive Barker style, where he deals a lot with that. And you're right. It feels like a Clive Barker story. What was the other one? Lord of Illusions, I believe, felt kind of like that too.
Oh boy. That was the one where Sam leaped into an illusionist.
That's right.
And Famke Janssen was his wife or something? I don't even remember.
No, I think she was the assistant to that one guy who used to be in all the stuff, and he was like balding. He had a big, but he had long hair on the sides and in the back. Oh, what the hell was that actor's name? He used to be everywhere, but he was the bad guy. He was a wizard.
Well, let's talk about Trevor.
Which one was Trevor?
Xander Berkeley, the husband.
The dickhead?
No.
I don't... Were you the one? Was it The Fly? Yeah. Oh, by the way.
I have my notes here. I have a Stathers reference to bring up here.
Your defense of morally questionable people is morally questionable.
What did Trevor do wrong?
Cheated on his wife?
With who?
That student?
What is Virginia Madsen's character in this movie? A grad student who's already married to her professor.
Yes.
She knows who she married. Number one.
Yeah.
No. This has happened before.
I don't believe that to be
You don't
true.
think that Xander Berkeley, who has multiple women fawning over him at the end of class,
well, I mean, that makes sense.
Had anyone in his life when Virginia Madsen snuck in there?
No, but I don't think he married any of them before.
I can't speak to whether he did or didn't. I'm just telling you that he wasn't alone, because he's like, apparently he's Indiana Jones.
Well, that's
teaching class.
Urban legend classes are like.
I couldn't believe how many. There was a guy there too, so good for inclusion. But
I didn't catch that.
This has happened before. She was on the other side of this. That's why she's so keenly aware of it.
You don't know, so you can't make that up. You just can't.
Now let's talk to the cheating part.
Mm-hmm.
You can't prove that. Number one.
Fair. That's fair.
Does he end up with that girl while he's still married to Helen? Yes. At that point, she's an escaped mental patient who is the only credible.
Based on how quickly that happened, though.
I'm not saying it's not true. But what I'm saying is, At that point, she's an escaped mental patient who is the sole credible suspect in, at that point, 2 murders and a dog murder.
And a baby kidnapping or theft.
And then we get to the ending scene where he is mournful over her death. And it's a fascinating choice. I know it's only done to get to the little quick ending where she pops up and then murders him, which I think is completely unjustified in every way.
Disagree. Hard disagree.
There's genuine sorrow.
I think the sorrow is because he can't keep fucking both of them. That is what his sorrow is about. He's like, oh, I lost that when I wasn't ready. Crazy is the best. Crazy sex is the best sex. And man, she's an escaped mental patient. Do you know what that's going to be like?
And he does call the police immediately upon seeing her escape. But what's he supposed to do?
That crazy sex I was telling you about. That's what he's supposed, and that's what he was saying her name for. He was regretful that he missed that opportunity.
I do think it's a nice moment when the residents of Cabrini Green come to her funeral, because they're the only ones that know the truth, but they're also the ones, we learned in 2021, they're going to perpetuate the lie.
Which, were you disappointed at all? Because I really was. I was hoping that part 2, when we found out that
Part 4.
I'm going to keep calling, okay, when I was watching Candyman, I did not know there were 2 and 3, and you said they're bad, so they don't exist. It's just these 2. So anyway, so now Helen is the new Candyman.
Yes.
Well, the new Helen. I thought it was going to be a movie about Helen and Candyman fighting for power.
No, I didn't think that.
I
thought that Jordan Peele was one of the co-writers of it.
I saw that.
And Candyman was one of his favorite movies. And I really think that he approached it from a place of, we got to fix some of this stuff that doesn't work. Because the movie itself, I think, is great. It's an entertaining as shit watch. Virginia Madsen's incredible. Tony Todd's incredible. Sandra Berkeley's great. It's a very interesting movie. When she brings the Candyman back and he kills the psychiatrist and frees her, it's fucking great. There's some cool fucking shit in that movie. Thematically, there are some issues. And I think Jordan Peele was like, I love that movie. We got to fix some of these issues. And I think the only thing that makes the new one suffer is that they're so committed to fixing it that some of their own stuff is a little wonky. But I do think they got there in the end.
Agree. Yeah, I 100% agree, because it leaves you in a really cool place where you're like, oh, I get it.
Candyman restored. It's
Candyman.
The story that you want back out there is back out there. And I love how they went about it, as long as I don't think about it as a self-contained movie. Because the movie itself, it's good. It's just like it gets lost trying to fix the sins of the first one, but it succeeds at it. So that's why I like them as watching both of them.
I don't, because I'm trying to think, would it work if you didn't see the first one and you just saw the second one, like emotionally with the reveal of the son, with Anthony being...
I guess it would, because they spent so much time in the first act discussing the Helen story. It's not like it's the first time you've heard about the baby. They bring it up in the first act a few times as yes.
Yeah.
I guess it would, but the point is you wouldn't care about it as much, because the reason that you care about it is you've seen the original Candyman.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. That's my contribution. Yeah, no, I don't know. That's also what I think about these movies.
The Candyman myth is that you say his name 5 times in the mirror. That's the Bloody Mary thing, just ripped off for this
character.
Except you have to work harder for it. And
you really got to want it.
It's such an easy thing to do because it works every time. When the character gets to 4, you're like, oh, are they going to do it? And then they do it, and you're like, but the cool thing in these movies is you're going to die. There's no, it's almost immediate, except for Helen.
Yeah, Helen said it really early on. Well, that's because he was in love with her. Yeah,
he also needs her. Now, my favorite use of it in this movie is definitely the end of the second movie, where they've killed Anthony. They have his girlfriend, who's Monica Rambeau from the...
That's where she's from.
It drove me nuts, too, and then I realized it.
Yep, okay.
It's funny, because it's only a couple years apart, and she looked completely different. I think she looks somehow shorter, was what it was. You know why? That guy that plays Anthony must be huge. Because next to him, she looked tiny, and then you watch the Marvel stuff, and she looks huge, because everyone else is tiny.
Oh, you pay a lot of attention to these things.
Because it was like, how can that be the same person and it doesn't look the same? And I think she looks like 4 feet shorter in this. So that Anthony guy must be huge. He played Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen TV show.
Motherfucker.
And I think he was Black Manta in the Aquaman movies.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
Okay.
So she's been arrested, or at least detained, and they've killed her boyfriend, and there's this fucking slimy cop who, like, boy, doesn't take long for you to want to see that cop die. He's like, it's like, shame what happened to your boyfriend there. He's like, of course we had no choice. She's coercing her into, you're going to go along with our story or there's going to be trouble for you. And then she realizes her only way out, and it's so fucking cool. And she's like, I'll do whatever you want. I just want to see myself in the mirror. And she says it 4 times because he says it the 5th time.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I did catch that.
Nice.
So Candyman comes out as in the form of Anthony, now fully formed into a Candyman.
Because he's got the hook hand already.
Fucking murders everybody. It's great.
All the cops that are there, everything.
It's great. All these crooked cops that had murdered him and were threatening her, murders them all. And then she gets out. She's following the bees. The bees form into Tony Todd, who just, I wish I could do his voice because his voice is so cool.
Hey, tell everyone about me.
That's what he said.
Yep, just like that.
That's what he said. And it's such a cool ending to that movie, not only because of the Tony Todd part, which you've been hoping for, but because that scene is fucking great. It's the best appropriation of a Candyman I've ever seen.
Yeah, I know it was for a first time viewing. The two of them are one movie to me.
Yeah,
I don't.
Well, like I said, I really like what I like about the new one is that it fixes problems I had with the first one,
and it leaves you in a place where you can go forward with the story. And I'd be interested in seeing it.
I think what makes the first one so interesting is that the movie itself, take away any of the mythological stuff. It's just a very interesting investigative horror movie with an iconic villain. So it works on its own. But the deeper they try to expand it, the less it makes sense with what they actually do with it. What I like about the sequel is that it takes the mythological stuff and it puts it in the forefront and says, we're going to make this kind of work. But it's going to hurt the stuff we're doing in our own movie. But you take the best parts of both, and I think you have a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, that's what it is. Together, it's a really, really cool story.
Each one's strongest part complements the other.
What a good way of putting it, Brian. Well thought out.
That's why I wanted to watch or have you watch the new one. Because if you didn't, I think you'd have a lot more. This kind of bothered me in the first one because it does bother me, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
No. All right, that makes sense. View it as it's one whole movie.
Yes.
Just 2 parts. Everything's 2 parts these days anyway.
I feel look at it like you got the original and then you have this appendix or appendices that will explain some of the things that I had put asterisks on when I watched the first one.
And by the time you get through the credits, you don't care. You're like, oh, I see. We're just going to have Candymen, different types of Candymen with different vengeances depending on.
But I like that in a, what's the word? In a social commentary way. I like that. That it expands it beyond this fictional story. She uses real life things.
Oh, okay. Right.
And I like that because she wants their stories out there. And I like that as just a theme of the series taking over for that. The biggest problem with Candyman 2 and 3 is that it's just trying to figure out how to make Candyman, Tony Todd, into this iconic thing, which he already is. So he's the only thing that works in the movies. And the more they do, it's like, I didn't need any of this. Like, just, give me Tony Todd killing people.
What does he do?
You see the whole flashback story. You see one set in the future. It's like I said, one of them set 25 years in the future. So it was set a year after 2021. So 2021's movie, I think, is set in 2019. So one's set in 2020. Doesn't even matter. It tries to push down on his individual lore. And I think what makes it smart choice for the new one is that it doesn't do that. His lore is a part of a much larger lore. I think that's more interesting. I think that it's more, and the way she uses real tragedies in it, I think that's powerful because the whole point of the thing is tell their stories. I think that's actually really a great thing. I can see why Jordan Peele wanted to do this, write the sequel a bit, because it is a way to, bring these stories, all these stories, fictional and real, back to the forefront. That's the whole point of Candyman, which I guess I get why you connect to it. I get why there's so much you can do with it that maybe they bit off a little more than they could chew in the sequel. There's not enough time. It's short too. That's the funny thing. They pack a lot in.
I agree. Both the movies were like really, really close to the 90-minute mark, and I appreciate that.
Yep. And I think the first one's clearly the better movie. And I just like what the second one has to say. Now I'm doing it. I like what the new one has to say about how to use the world the first one built better. And I don't know that we'll ever get any more. Obviously, we won't get Tony Todd anymore. But I wonder if there are ideas, like you kind of have opened it up to. You could just, you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see someone make like a HBO anthology series.
Ooh.
Where you can do different characters.
That would be fun.
And you can have all different kinds of directors and writers take their different takes on it.
On what an urban legend of the Candyman is.
Yes. And how do they want to do that? You come up with your own backstory, you come up with your own slasher part, you come up with your own investigation part. I'd love to see somebody do that.
You can have Ted Raimi popping up.
Yeah, of course you could. Somebody should definitely do that, have him reprise that character. Because again, he's not real, so you can have him do it forever.
I wish they had done that in the second one now.
Well,
started off the story.
Maybe they do in the second one, Pete. I know they don't do it in the fourth one. Yeah. So Tony Todd, this is one of the problems with doing so many, what do we call them? So many of these annual episodes in a row. He died in November. We haven't been able to do a regular episode since he died. So it's been very, I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to do Candyman. He just gets stuck forever doing 100th episodes and best ofs and award shows and Christmas.
You can't change the seasons, Brian. Award season is award season. When it happens, you just got to grin and bear it and let it wash over you.
Well, it's just like the David Lynch thing. He shouldn't have died in the middle of award season because now I got to wait till April.
People need to rethink their dying. It's very inconvenient.
I agree. Hard agree.
How dare they?
What do you think a David Lynch Candyman would come back like? I guess we could grab a mirror and find out.
Did I tell you Sam was summoning Bloody Mary in the mirror one time?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
You told us all.
Did it work?
I think you possibly told us all on last week's episode. I think that happens on the bonus episode for 1986.
All right. Anyway.
Which we recorded 2 months ago. Just to throw out how difficult that is. All right, let's get to your stuff.
I got my credit check.
Was Nick Cage ever a Candyman?
No.
Did you look it up?
Of course I did. All right, so the original Candyman clocked in at an hour 38, which was a little bit longer than the hour 31 that Candyman was. So I still like part one better, but the time goes to Candyman. Now, who do we got? Oh, in Candyman, no best boys, no pure best boys, just a bunch of hybrids running around. Mudbloods, as I believe they're referred to.
This is our Black History Month episode. I don't know if you want to continue on that path.
No, I guess I don't. Anyway, we have a bee wrangler, always the classic bee wrangler when real bees are involved. This one had an assistant bee wrangler because I guess there was too many bees. You needed help with them. There was something, I didn't have time, but there was something called a synclavier operator. Synclavier. Synclavier.
If you're nasty.
If you're nasty. So whatever that is, Ben Wilkins operated it. He operated the hell out of it. Now this was sad. There was animal action monitored. That's it.
Well, some bees are going to get harmed in the making of a movie like this.
Makes me sad, Brian. Makes me really sad.
I can live with it.
Now this is interesting.
Oh, also they batted that dog. and hey, someone watched.
This is the really interesting part. So, the company that made the title design is a heart plus a coffee cup equals lightning. Look, I drew it. That's the little symbol. I don't even know what that means. Heart plus coffee equals lightning.
Well, if you love coffee,
you get electrocuted.
You move quickly.
Hey, maybe that's what it is. Yeah. That's some good interpretation. Clearly went to college, that urban legend class.
3 colleges.
All right, now where do we go? Candyman 2, very, very disappointing credits.
It's not Candyman 2?
No, it's Candyman 2. Nothing about animals being watched because no real animals were in that movie.
That's correct.
Let's see here. The only thing of interest, well, first off, I got to tell you what grinds my gears about that second one. You can't watch it because there's a story going on. I want to watch the story with the puppets. I don't want to look at the credits, but the credits is where it's at. People need to see what other people have done.
And you didn't get far enough into the credits to understand it's not called Candyman 2 or Candyman.
they did have, it was tough. I had to keep stopping it and rewatching it and stopping it and rewatching. And then I had to pause it because it goes really fast and it's only on half the screen, so it's tiny. And then there's a 9-year-old there talking at me the whole time, distracting me.
Asking you what lynching is. David lynching.
I was not, is that what his ancestors did? Because you get named for the stuff you do, like Smith and Doolittle and, I don't know, Baker.
I know what Doolittle did.
Talk to animals.
Yeah. And he got his medical degree. Have some respect.
Okay, but anyway, the only thing of interest, aside from the 9 different types of best boys they had, but no, just best boy, there was a Russian arm operator. Oh, I don't even know what that is. There was a Russian arm in that movie. Not a slow arm, a Russian one. That's even more interesting than the Sinclair VA
Did he
operator.
love coffee?
I don't know. There was no that company didn't do the title screen for part 2.
That's why it was Russian.
Maybe that was the Ooh, Brian, you're bringing up more mysteries again. Since you were solving your own earlier, maybe you can help me with this. We need to watch the credits again.
Nope. We'll wait till your son gets home so we can traumatize him.
Yeah, right. He said he wants to watch the movie. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. But really, there's not a lot that happens because I would make him watch the first one because that's the better one. But nothing happens for a lot, and he's not going to sit through that. He just wants to wait for people to get murdered.
It's a good one to watch when he gets older because I think that first one is really interesting. I don't want to say it got more interesting as time went on. I think it was always exactly this interesting. But movies don't feel like that anymore. So I think it has an interesting feel and look to it that stands out now amongst the shinier stuff we see, including its own legacy sequel.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So that's my credit check.
All right. That's it? No Nick Cage?
Oh, no, there's Nick Cage.
Yes.
You think I wasn't going to bring you Nick Cage? Oh, I just like to hear it when you ask me. I know it makes me feel so good because you really want it. I'm so excited, Brian. Today, I was looking up Nick Cage stuff because I don't know where my Nick Cage notebook is. So the internet was flowing with Nick. It was just pouring down like manna from heaven. All this Nick Cage news. I've got so much, I don't know where to start, and they're all good. Oh, wait, there's even some on the back. Hang on. What was this? Ooh, 2 of them. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, okay. I know. These are all good. Oh, okay. I'll give you this one because you might like it. So, you're getting a knick-knack fact today. You ready? You ready for this knick-knack fact? Your knick-knack fact of the day. So, in Peggy Sue Got Married, that voice that he does.
I'm aware of the voice.
Yeah. Well, apparently, when he's tired, he unconsciously starts using that at home. Pretty good. I don't want to do the dishes.
I taught him that voice, you know that?
Oh, that's right, you did. Well, it's still in his head, man, and he's still doing it.
I mean, I didn't do it intentionally. It's just how I talked around the set because I was like, yeah, this is the same set from that scene that I wrote that I watched a million times.
Yep, but that's it. He walks around and talks like that.
Another thing was he was just going to do that movie straight, but then he heard me doing it, and he said, I'm going to do the whole movie like this. And Kathleen Turner was pissed.
Was she really?
She was like, why does he have to act like a child?
Apparently he still does that.
Well, it's a great voice, and I take full credit for it.
Well, there you go. Your knick-knack fact of the day. That's what I got.
All right.
So that was it.
That's pretty good.
I call that movie pretty good, too.
Yeah, I think these were pretty good movies. And it was nice to just have movies to talk about.
There was almost naked Virginia Madsen.
I think you got a little.
There was a lot of side boob.
There was a lot of boob that you got to see the whole thing. They were covering the nipples pretty good in some scenes.
I can't remember. I saw it a couple weeks ago at this point, but I remember.
You definitely got to see a little bit on the side.
Yeah, there was
a nipple on the
a lot
side.
of teasing.
I don't know that
going
we
on.
need to get deep into this. I don't know that we need to take out our x-ray machines.
You got to be careful that whatever movie we were watching and those boobs floated out from under the dock, you got to be careful and you got to be prepared. That's all I'm saying.
I thought she was excellent in that movie. And
The boobs under the dock?
Yep, I thought those boobs were excellent. And I thought that Virginia Madsen was so good that it is crazy that I can't really name anything else she was in.
I'm going to the internet.
Ooh.
Take it 20. Ooh, I missed a call from Spam Risk.
Ooh.
He's my best friend.
That's just what you labeled Kitty in your phone.
Virginia Madsen. All right, she's 63 years old.
Now.
I guess so. What are your movies? Where are your movies? She's 5'5" tall. This is a lot of info. Okay. She was in Candyman.
Interesting. Good. Now shut it down.
The Haunting in Something. Pray for the... She was in a Dune. She was in 1984's Dune.
Was she?
Uh-huh. Would you like me to investigate further?
No.
Okay. She was in Highlander 2, The Quickening. I guess
Wait, they made a second Highlander?
She was in The Prophecy.
Wait a minute.
There's lots of Highlanders.
No, there's only one thing I know about Highlander. It seems to run directly in the face of the one thing that I know.
There was a whole TV show with Adrian somebody who was the Highlander.
I'm confused, and I need an explanation here. Somebody to tell me what happened. I need Jordan Peele to go write a legacy sequel to explain to me how there could be more than one Highlander. The other thing is, though, I've seen like enough stuff about Highlander. There's always more than one.
The first movie ends with only one.
Yeah, because Sean Connery dies, right?
Yeah, he dies early.
Oh.
He was a Spanish guy, I believe.
Of course, obviously. Who else would you cast?
Now let me see here. How did it end? No, it was what's his face? Christopher Lambert versus some big guy who was around in those movies back then. And Christopher Lambert wins, and he gets all the powers of the Highlanders. And then in part 2, I think they're aliens, and Sean Connery's back. And then part 3 is something completely different. And then there's one of them where they bring in the TV show guy.
They got Sean Connery back for Highlander too.
I'm pretty sure they did.
He gave up doing James Bond movies in '68, but he's like, I could do a second Highlander.
Virginia Madsen was in The Haunting in 1999.
That's a terrible movie.
Oh, yeah, she was in Swamp Thing, the new show. That's where I've seen her recently.
That is where I've seen her.
Did you watch it finally?
I saw the first few episodes of it before you started watching it. Lost my place.
It's really good. I liked it. But yeah, that is exactly where I've seen her recently. Okay. Ooh, she's in something called After Sex. Ooh la la.
I'd rather watch the prequel.
First Date. Ooh, she's in something called Hot to Trot, and it looks like there's a talking horse involved.
Did you really just misplace the joke on that?
I don't know what you're talking about. Ghosts of Mississippi.
Oh, yeah, that's the movie where James Woods got to say the N-word and was so excited.
Because he got to say it on screen as opposed to just in his normal day-to-day life.
I think at some point he just stares down the camera and grins when he does it.
Oh, man.
We should have known. We should have known.
I guess so. All right, so that's the movies I've seen Virginia Madsen in. She's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but she should have been in more stuff, like better stuff. Oh, I saw her in Pray for the Devil.
I didn't.
That's not a good movie either. She does a lot of horror movies, which is nice, but Candyman's the one. Oh, The Prophecy. I remember The Prophecy.
Me too. That was Christopher Walken. He never drives anywhere, that guy.
It was, and he wasn't doing a Christopher Walken impression in that one either, as I recall.
I don't recall.
I think he was actually, that was still in an era where he was actually trying.
Yeah. Who? There was another one. It wasn't The Prophecy. It was like Warlock, and it had the bad guy from Briscoe County Jr.
Nobody knows who that is.
John Bly, I believe the character's name
Just
was.
making shit up.
I am not. He was the bad guy, and he was in a movie, I think, called Warlock or something. It was something prophecy-esque. The two came out at the same time, I feel. It's a real thing, Brian.
I don't have to believe you.
One time on Briscoe, Bruce Campbell was sitting there talking to a lady, and she wanted, I think, to go be a lawyer. And she's like, but I can't because people, it's a male-dominated profession. And he was like, Briscoe's like, well, it's the 90s, the 1890s, and attitudes are changing. That show's great.
When's the last time you watched it?
A few years ago, I was sick with a stomach virus, and I crawled down to the basement so no one else would get sick, and I laid on the floor watching Briscoe County Jr. on DVD.
And you thought that would make you feel better?
Well, I kept passing out. Like, I'd put an episode on and then fall asleep. And then I'd wake up and have to run upstairs and, like, vomit or shit or something. And then I'd come back downstairs, and I'd take a couple of sips of water because I'm dehydrated, put a new episode of Briscoe on, and then fall asleep immediately, wake up somewhere after it ended and have to do the whole thing all over again. It was pretty good, though, those few minutes I saw. There's an episode called Briscoe in Jalisco.
That was our Black History Month episode. Iconic character.
Briscoe?
No. Lord Bowler.
Lord Bowler. Julia, he was on Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, too.
Nobody cares about this. Even you can't care about this. All right. Well, we got to do a regular episode. We're going to have a regular episode next week, too. It's exciting.
2 in a row.
2 in a row, and then off the rails a little bit.
Yay.
Just for a week. Next week, we're going to talk about the 25th anniversary of a Vin Diesel classic. Not for me.
Triple X.
Not for me.
I want all that in here.
No, he doesn't say any of those things in this movie.
The things I'm about to do for my country.
Yeah, we do same lines every time. None of them in this movie. I'm the only one that does a line from this movie.
Don't watch me now.
No, that's not in there either. Although he has his eyes shined, so he would have a hard time watching if he was in the direct sunlight.
I
Because
am Groot.
He prefers things pitch black. Is
I-
that a good hint?
I prefer them pitch perfect.
It's that prequel to Chronicles of Riddick.
Everybody loves a prequel.
Yeah. I love the movie. I watched it very recently. The CGI is kind of trash for the aliens. But
Oh, really?
It doesn't hurt because the CGI Vin Diesel is incredible. He can't be real. I know I've seen him in a lot of things. He has to be like a time traveler came back and gave them AI earlier than people thought. Because it looks like an actor. It talks like an actor. It doesn't seem to have the talent of an actor. And yet I cannot take my eyes off him. Although I will say, pre-fame Vin Diesel, this movie kind of started people getting to notice him. I think is legitimately great in this movie. And I don't think that in any other movie, including those Fast and Furious movies that I genuinely love and he's a big part of. I think he's genuinely incredible in this movie.
The other movie, this was pre-fame. Mm-hmm. So somewhere around this time he did that he was really good in was, I think it was called The Pacifier.
You don't think that.
It was called The Pacifier.
You saw the trailer for The Pacifier.
And he has to like babysit kids or something, but bad guys come for the kids. Maybe they're White House kids or important diplomat kids, and he's got to protect them.
I saw The Pacifier. It was all right. I don't know what to say. I'm part of the problem. I'm part of the problem. Like I had a tweet the other day where I said something along the lines of, we can all debate when we all think the world went to shit, but I'm almost positive it's when we made Avatar the highest grossing film in history.
Has that been passed yet?
No, it probably hasn't gone back because I think it's number one. It's still. Ugh. And I was like, I think that's the moment that we as society. But then I saw The Pacifier and I kind of liked it. So I'm part of the problem. I'm in this Vin Diesel cult and I don't know how I got there. You know me. I love condiments.
That's the one thing I do know about you.
We've proven that you don't know anything about me, but I'm going to go with the premise of you know me. There's nothing in what I enjoy about art, what I enjoy about film, what I enjoy about storytelling that matches what Vin Diesel provides. But fuck, I love Vin Diesel, and I don't know why. And I don't not even ironically. That's the point. I would have thought, oh yeah, I like it because it's so against all the things I like. No, I genuinely think it's great. And I don't know why. And it bothers me a little bit. But also, I just put on another Vin Diesel movie and enjoy myself.
I don't know where I stand on Vin Diesel. I don't have...
When you watch Pitch Black again, I think you're going to be like, boy, he was really good in this movie.
Oh, I remember that.
He's acting in this movie. Which, again, I don't think he's been doing that for a long time. I think he's just basically been Vin Diesel for most of the time lately. Whereas this is, I think, the best he can do. And I think it's legitimately great. Now, I would like to see him at some point. Maybe he's done this. I don't really watch all of his movies. I kind of just assume they're great. I would like to see him do the Jason Statham in Spy, where he totally
plays his character.
Because, we talked before about how he has these writers in his contract that he can't get beaten up. He has to have the most screen time. He has to have the best lines. All this nonsense, this Hollywood bullshit. I would love to see him do the movie where he does what Jason Statham did in Spy and just take down what people think of you, because I think he'd be great at it. I think it'd be hilarious. Spy. I think he's secretly hilarious, and Jason Statham's legitimately hilarious. So Spy is
very underrated movie. I love that movie.
If the whole movie was just the 15 minutes he's in the movie, it'd be the best movie of all time.
Everyone else,
the rest of the movie's great too.
Yeah,
but the Jason Statham stuff is brilliant, and I'd like to see Vin Diesel have the I don't know what the word is. I would like to see Vin Diesel be interested in taking, popping the balloon that is his
breaking
aura.
The fourth wall. Who is that show? The Gary Shandling, the Larry Sanders Show treatment to a.
Larry Sanders Show doesn't break the fourth wall. Gary Shandling Show did.
Whichever, but I'm saying.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Where the
Play
actors
yourself
come-
as a, yeah. You could never see him doing that. And when you watch Spy, you come away with it and you go, I like Jason Statham 100 times more. And I already love Jason Statham. I love him 100 times more now because he gets the joke. He gets what people think Jason Statham is. And then I watch him do it, play the, take down the archetype of the Jason Statham character, and he's amazing at it. I think Vin Diesel would be great because it would be so unexpected for him to do.
With the whole, I can't get beat up or you can't lose on screen. Who do you think started that? Vin Diesel or The Rock? Or the Taye Diggs was also involved, wasn't he?
I don't even know if he's in those movies.
Well, I think he lost. He got like pushed out, squeezed out with his writers.
I think The Rock started it. I think he was the first one to say, that doesn't work for me, brother. And then Vin Diesel goes, well, I produced these. That's not a good Vin Diesel. Don't watch me now. That's what he said.
That's where I was going.
That's what he said. All right. And do you think that we should end this episode by looking in a mirror and saying Candyman 5 times? I happen to have this antique mirror.
Yes. Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. Oh,
You can't look at me.
Can.
Oh my God. Do you think if anybody ever sang that song in the mirror and then were immediately murdered by Tony Todd? Because he hates that song.
I guess Tony Todd could be a Candyman now too.
Well, not now.
Well, yes, now. Now would be he actually can be a Candyman.
I don't know that you understood what Candyman was about, but I don't think that Tony Todd was an innocent man who was murdered. He was guilty. He killed all those people in Candyman.
But he's playing the Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
See, the legend is about him as the Candyman. So if we say his name, we say Tony, 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 hey, Tony, Tony.
3/5 of that was my favorite band in the 90s.
Tony, 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 Tony. Tony.
Your math is...
Hey, Mickey, you're so fine.
Oh, before we go, on the Stathis scale, where does Trevor rank?
Oh man, he is a slimy piece of work. Which end of the scale is the most?
Well, in your view, Stathis is a monster.
He was a monster.
He's worse than Peck. Walter Peck. We've already discussed that.
He was a rapist. Stathis was.
We've already, because he was having sex with a student. I don't know if you followed what happens to Xander Berkeley's character Trevor in these movies, but he's done it at least twice. We know that Ellis in Die Hard is secretly a hero. We all agree.
He tried.
He used his best methods to try to save everyone, and it cost him his life. That is a hero.
That's coke, Brian. That's why we don't do coke.
Well, we did.
It makes you overconfident and foolish.
I'm starting to realize when we were in 1986, you didn't do any cocaine.
No.
I did all the cocaine, but that was a lot of cocaine. I was buying for 4.
I mean, I was snorting Orange Julius's
That's
on a
true.
daily basis.
True. So on the Stathis scale, better or worse than Stathis? There is no redemption arc for Trevor, except he does feel genuinely, I think, bummed out at least.
And I maintain that's because he lost one of his partners. He's got to find a new one now.
We all grieve in our own way.
Shit. I really hated him, but I'm glad he's dead. Did Stathis die?
No, that's the point. He got.
He's worse.
He
He's
lost
still-
his hand. He lost his leg. He saved Gina Davis's life. Well, we'll get back to Stathis, I think, in a couple weeks when we do the 1986. What do we call them? Scare Value Awards. I forgot the fucking name of my own fucking website. Oh my God. And go see Companion. It's been out for weeks.
I want to see that.
It was great. I saw it. It was great in our real time. It comes out later this week, but
Good old Jack Quaid.
in the time you hear this, it's been out. It's probably already out of theaters, to be honest with you.
I want to see the monkey movie.
Yes, that should be out maybe this week if I know where we are. Maybe next week.
I want to see it.
It's
It
coming
looks
out very soon. Yes. So we might do an episode on the monkey at some point because we might go see it.
good. Ooh.
Maybe we won't.
Ooh.
But if this goes forever, eventually that monkey will type perfect Shakespeare.
I heard that wasn't true. I heard there wasn't a room that was
Okay.
big enough for that many monkeys.
Okay. It's a thought exercise. I've heard this too. I heard somebody recently try to take down that it would never happen. That person does not understand the point of the thought exercise and what infinite means.
I do understand.
No, I didn't say you. I said that person.
Okay.
You're just the idiot repeating it. You just read headlines, though. I don't blame you.
And the idea that there's...
So wait, I like your take on it, though. Infinite monkeys with infinite typewriters would eventually type the complete works of Shakespeare. I like your angle. There's not a room big enough because nobody says there's an infinitely big room. So I think you've got it right. But the person who did try to take that down recently, I take issue with it. Oh, I think it was Comedy Bang Bang.
Okay.
And
what did they do?
He said it would never happen. It would just never happen. None of them would do it. It's like, that's not true. It's not understanding what infinite means.
I don't think there's an infinite number of typewriters either.
You come at this at a weird angle where one of them, the first thing you said I thought was legitimately brilliant. And now you've said something stupid.
Like, there's a lot of math involved.
It's the most math you could ever have. It's every number. All right. I don't even know. I had an ending a long time ago and I forgot it. Oh, how's he rank on the status scale?
Oh, yeah. He is better than because he died.
Stathis remains history's biggest monster.
So far.
So far.
Got to be optimistic.